We're keeping tabs on several stories across the country. Crime stories, insurgency in the northeast by Boko Haram. What happens if the US begins selling weapons to Nigeria? Will the world super strong accept Nigeria to develop nuclear capacity to fight terror? What if war comes to the home front of the country? It's prime time here in Nigeria's commercial city, Lagos. In a moment, we'll go live to the heart of insurgency in the northeast. Could the Nigerian military effectively patrol the streets in areas worst hit by Boko Haram? Coming up, I'll speak to our correspondent, Blessing Tuno, in Borno State in the heart of insurgency. We'll also speak to the commander of the Multinational Joint Task Force, Major General Ilya Abba, in the front lines. All this on State of the Nation. I am Gimba Umar. You're watching State of the Nation, where news and information from across Nigeria arrive in one place simultaneously. On this screen behind me, data feeds coming in real time, channelstv.com, social media platforms as well, and happening in the country's northeast, continuing attacks. The US government has agreed to help Nigeria fight insurgency in the northeast. Nigeria's service chiefs are okayed by the Senate. No fewer than 135 people have been abducted in Chakamari, a border town between Nigeria and Cameroon. The latest raid by the insurgents, 8 people died in that attack. The Nigerian military has been making steady gains on Boko Haram insurgency recently in Nigeria's northeast. Members of the civilian JTF have apprehended 4 of the militants in Malari village in Borno State. Let's talk to Blessing Tuno in the heart of the troubled Borno State in Nigeria's northeast as Boko Haram continues and that place happens to be its stronghold. Blessing, what concerns does this latest attacks? 135 people we know are abducted, 8 killed. I can imagine the worst. What concerns does this raise for the Lake Chad Basin member countries despite a renewed multinational joint task force to defeat the insurgents?
A sign that the borders are still as porous as ever. Authorities concerned from the Nigerian side have said the Nigerian borders have been closed, but then the Chakamari incident happened. What this means is those bandits know their way around the measures the government have chosen to adopt, and more trans-border banditry should be expected in the coming days.
Blessing, is this a pointer that Boko Haram is going back on its old style of attacks?
Well, even though at some point no such attacks were being reported again as a result of actions taken by troops from all the affected countries, but this recent attack will be a product of one of these two reasons. One is either the trans-border patrol relaxed or the insurgents sprang a surprise from a direction the troops were not expecting. But either way, this should serve as a wake-up call for troops from all sides to put their acts together now that the insurgents have been dislodged from their stronghold to the Sambisa forest. Unconventional attacks are to be expected.
Blessing, let's talk about the Multinational Joint Task Force. Are they equipped with the kind of weaponry to go after Boko Haram, or better still, take the war to their home front? Or do they have to wait, for example, Nigeria waiting to buy weapons from the US?
Well, first of all, the Multinational Joint Task Force does not consist of a new formation of soldiers. In fact, even the head of the MJTF is a product of the Nigerian Army, appointed to head this new drive. So against this background, I would say that it's a common knowledge that our federal troops have always complained of poor equipment and all that. And the immediate chief of defense staff openly admitted that. And then also President Muhammad Buhari, during his visit to the US, took up the issue of sale of arms with the US president. That again is another admission that the troops are under-equipped. But in the interim, I think the soldiers are making do with the available resources they have, but then there's still a need to really consider acquiring more equipment for them.
What response are you getting from the people now that the Senate has okayed the service chiefs?
Well, actually, people over here are not interested in who heads what service. They are just desperate for total liberation from insurgency. There's this other assumption that what they have been through is a product of the failure of the past government. So as far as they are concerned, replacing the service chief by the present administration is a welcome development that will get the Buhari-led government to start attacking insurgency.
Does the U.S. and Nigerian government have a clear deployment plan to rout Boko Haram?
Well, we may not be privy to some of the intense discussions between the two leaders, but there seems to be a synergy working out. Over the past few weeks, the U.S. has repeatedly pledged support for Nigeria, and the Borno State Governor, Kashim Shettima, accompanied President Muhammad Buhari on the trip. And since his return to the state, he appears more confident than ever before that the synergy will indeed be fruitful. And that's a good sign that we are getting.
Listen, let me put you on hold for about 2 minutes and take a report.
The havoc wreaked by the emergence of the insurgent group Boko Haram, particularly in the northeastern part of Nigeria since 2009, has been a burden in the minds of many Nigerians. They became better recognized as they gained entrance into the city of power, Abuja, with their attacks, first on the police headquarters and then the bombing of United Nations building, where 11 members of staff were reported to have been killed as further mayhem lingered. In the heat of the campaign by the present government, the battle against the continued existence and operation of this group was set to be a priority. Even at his inauguration, President Muhammadu Buhari announced the relocation of the military's command center to the heart of the insurgency.
The command center will be relocated to Maiduguri and remain until Boko Haram is completely subdued.
A range of attacks ravaged the northeast with occasional bombings in other parts of the north. However, over 1,000 people are reported to have been killed since this administration in May. Although collaborative efforts are on with the visit of the president and his vice to countries across the world, one of such was to the United States, where promises were made to assist Nigeria in ending the activities of the insurgents.